Hola, ¿qué tal amigos? Bienvenidos a mi canal Spanish World, en donde aprendemos español y en donde tampoco lloramos, porque aquí no lloramos, siempre buscamos soluciones y vamos sin excusas. Así es, amigos. ¿Y por qué digo eso? Porque tampoco quiero estar escuchándolo. Bueno, yo no puedo aprender español. Claro que pueden. Bueno, yo no puedo aprender inglés. O sí, pueden. No es tan difícil, es muy fácil. Podemos hacerlo y yo les voy a enseñar cómo. Y vamos a empezar en donde siempre empezamos, compartiendo una pantalla y enseñándoles el formato que usamos para aprender cualquier idioma. De hecho, vamos a hacer una prueba. Vamos a ver si ustedes pueden llenar el formato. A mí me gusta negro, vamos a poner negro. Ajá, sí. Entonces, vamos a quitar este. Este no lo quiero, pero este sí. Ok, tenemos uno y tenemos otro. Oh, ¿qué pasa? Y también tenemos esto. Ahora, ustedes se acordarán que tenemos en español la primera persona, la segunda persona y también la tercera. Y luego en este lado tenemos singular. En este lado tenemos plural. Plural. ¿De qué estamos hablando? Los pronombres de sujeto. Tenemos que recordar, en cada idioma tenemos un sujeto que hace el verbo. Y el sujeto se representa a través de este formato. La primera persona singular. En inglés sería, ¿cuál sería en inglés? En inglés sería I. Pero ¿qué tal en español? ¿Qué sería en español? Yo. Ajá. Y luego, la segunda persona singular. ¿Cuál es la segunda persona? Es la persona con la que estás hablando directamente. En inglés se dice you, ¿verdad? You. Pero en español, tú. O quizá vos o usted. Pero vamos a quedarnos con tú por ahora. You, tú, I, yo, you, tú. Y luego, ¿qué es lo que tenemos? En la tercera persona, singular. En inglés, tanto como en español, tenemos dos géneros y también algo para un objeto, una idea. Entonces, masculino en inglés, he. Masculino en español, él. Femenino, she. Y luego en español, ella. Pero si es una cosa, it. Y ahora, en español no hay nada. Porque se entiende por el contexto que estamos hablando de la cosa. Pero en inglés tenemos que literalmente decir it. Así es. It does the verb. Hace el verbo. La cosa hace el verbo. Por ejemplo, si yo tengo, no sé, por ejemplo, este marcador. El marcador escribe. Y luego puedo decir, escribe. Y ustedes saben que estoy hablando del marcador. Pero en inglés tenemos que decir, it writes. It writes. ¿Por qué decimos it? ¿Quién sabe? Porque en muchos idiomas así es. Español no es uno de esos idiomas, pero inglés sí lo es. Muy bien. Entonces, el lado plural. ¿Qué quiere decir plural, amigos? ¿Qué quiere decir? Plural quiere decir más de uno. Entonces, si yo tengo dos marcadores o más de dos, por ejemplo, si yo tengo un montón de marcadores, yo digo, plural son marcadores. Si yo tengo dos marcadores, entonces yo tengo dos. Es plural. Uno es singular. Dos, pues es plural. La primera persona plural. ¿Cuál es? ¿Cuál es en español y cuál es en inglés? What is the first person plural in English? What is I plural? When there's like, more than one of me. If there were two of me here, what is the subject pronoun that I would use to replace both of us? It would be we. Así es. ¿Cómo decimos we en español? How do we say we in Spanish? Ustedes saben que es nosotros, a menos que seamos mujeres. Entonces, nosotras. If we're females, like, if myself and another person were here, and if we were both females, which I'm not a female, but, like if I were, hypothetically speaking, and my friend were, then we would say nosotras, nosotras, nosotras. But since I'm a guy, I'll never say that. Except for I actually say it pretty often because I teach Spanish. Entonces, ya que enseño español, de hecho lo digo a menudo. Pero no importa. The second person plural. What's the second person plural? In English. En inglés, ¿cuál es la segunda persona plural? ¿Cuál es la segunda persona plural en inglés? Vamos a hablar de eso ahorita. We're going to talk about that right now. The second person, singular, is you. You. Pero, pero, la segunda persona plural en español, ¿cuál es? Y también cuál es en inglés. What is it in English and what is it in español, in Spanish? Do you guys know? Well, in English, some would argue that you just say you again. Que nada más decimos you otra vez. Pero, que soy del condado de Grays Harbor, aquí no hablamos así. Aquí decimos you guys. Y eso es lo más correcto. Lo más correcto. You guys. And why would you want to get confused, right? You versus you guys. You guys is just better. And then some people say, well, what if they're female? It don't matter. You just say you guys. No importa. Si estás hablando con mujeres, todavía está bien decir you guys. Incluso las muchachas lo dicen. Like if there's, a group of girls talking to another group of girls, it's very common to hear them say, what do you guys want to do? Well, there's no guys in the group, but that's the way you say it, you guys. Now, you can just say you, and it's understood that you're talking about the whole group, right? And then there's other ways, right? You can also say you all, right? And that's fine. You can say you all or y'all. Hey, why not? Sometimes I do it too, just, I don't know, to be funny. But the normal way to say it, at least for me, is you guys. You guys. Now, This is an issue in every single language. This is what I would call a nuance. Hay pequeñas diferencias en cada idioma. Son las cositas diferentes. Speaking of something, let me show you guys something here. How do you learn another language, guys? You learn another language by studying that language. And so this is what I like to do. Let me just share my screen with you. I know it's like so unprofessional because I haven't figured out how to not show all of my tabs and stuff. You know, try to figure it out. It's like, whatever. You guys want to put it down in the chat below. Like, dude, all you got to do is this. Well, you know, and I could look it up and figure it out, but like, I'm not trying to hide anything. So let me just show you all my tabs. Okay. Look, if you want to learn another language, you can't be afraid of looking stuff up. And so Google Translate should be your friend, right? It just should be. So let's do English to Spanish and let's put in the word, I don't know, how do you spell it? A nuance. And then you can even ver el diccionario, right? There's the dictionaries. Lo siento, yo tengo mi, computadora en español. Entonces, nuance. Nuance. You guys hear that?
Nuance.
And then matiz. Yeah, you can say that. Matiz. Why not?
Matiz.
And so matiz is like a shade. That's how I would translate it personally. But basically, a nuance is, oh, and here's the other thing. When you're doing like matiz, like if you click on matiz, for example, matiz, be sure that you figure out if matiz is masculine or feminine. Do you guys know? What is it? Masculine or feminine? Matiz. Look over here. It says matiz. Variación leve de tono, grado de... Lo siento, no puedo ver muy bien. Ahí está. Luminosidad, etcétera. Que puede presentar un mismo color. Un mismo color. Y matices. Yeah. See, they don't want to tell you. Y matices. Well, that doesn't tell you if it's masculine or feminine. But look at this one right here. Una palabra con matiz despectivo. Yeah, matiz despectivo. And so notice that it's not despectiva, it's despectivo. And so you know it's el matiz. El matiz. El matiz. And despectivo means like negative or insulting. So una palabra con matiz despectivo means like a word with an insulting shade or a despective. I don't even know if despective is a real word. Let me look this up really fast. Despectivo. I know what it means, but see, this is, look, you can't be afraid of looking stuff up. You can't be afraid of raising your hand and saying, hey, I got a question. Especially if you're like in college, take advantage of it. Yeah, derogatory. That's a better word. Derogatory. Yeah, despectivo. So it has like a derogatory nuance. Tiene un matiz despectivo. Yeah, it's a good translation. I like that. So look, every language, why are we talking about matices? Why are we talking about nuances? The reason why, let's go back over here, is because the subject pronouns, there's always going to be nuances. Unless it's Chinese, it's very, very straightforward. But even Chinese has like a couple little nuances, right? You have ni, and then you have nin. And so that's a nuance. And so there's going to be some nuances here. But the concept, el concepto, es siempre lo mismo. It's always the same, lo mismo. El concepto es siempre lo mismo. La primera persona, la segunda persona y también la tercera persona. Singular y plural. It's always the same concept for every single language. That's the first thing you got to learn. What is the first person, second person, and third person, singular and plural? And then, of course, you have to learn all the little nuances. So one of the nuances, one of los matices en español, bueno, primero en inglés, one of the nuances in English is you can say you guys, or you can just say you. ¿Cuál prefieres? Like, which one do you prefer? You know what I mean? Like, ¿cuál prefieres? You or you guys. No importa. Nada más es un matiz. Ok, amigos. Vamos a simplificar este proceso. Yo en adelante voy a usar you guys. This is the way I do it. This is the way I always do it. I say you guys. I'm not going to change now, right? I've been saying it this way for like 39 years. No one's going to stop me unless I'm speaking Spanish. And then I'll say ustedes. Right. Yeah, that's how you do it in Spanish. So let's go ahead and put that in there. Ustedes. Right. Okay, now let me put the little bar. So in Spanish, ustedes. But there's a nuance, un matiz. Porque en español, in Spanish, there's another way to say you guys. Do you guys know what it is? Yeah, it's vosotros. Whoops. Vosotros. Vosotros. But it can also be feminine. Vosotras. So what does vosotras or vosotros mean? What does this one mean? What does that mean? You guys. That's all it means. It just means you guys. In Spain, okay? And that's why this ustedes is actually, well, we're going to take it out for a minute. It's gone because it's a nuance. The reason why I'm taking it out is because it's going to go down here in the third person. Why is it going in the third person? Not because it's really the third person. It ain't, right? It ain't. It ain't the third person. Why do I say it ain't? En inglés, podemos decir it is not. O podemos decir it's not. But it sounds like snot. And so you don't say that. It's snot. It is snot. It's snot. Right? And so I say it ain't. And that is correct. They say ain't a word. Well, yeah, it is. It is now. And colloquially, it's correct. It ain't. Well, I'll tell you that it is. But I won't tell you that it's not. Okay. So here's the issue. Without ustedes, let's forget about ustedes for a minute. What is the third person plural in English? The third person plural in English is, well, let me think about it. If I want to say, like he, and it's plural. So if there's more than one of him, then I would have to say something like, they. They. Pero en español, but in Spanish, ¿qué es lo que tenemos que decir? Tenemos que decir, we have to say something else. What is it? What do we have to say? They. It's going to be one of two things. Ellos or ellas. And that's because if they are all females, then we say ellas. But if they're not all females, then we say ellos. That's right. Same thing with nosotros. Like, let's go back to nosotros really fast. If I say nosotros, nosotros, nosotros. So if I have, like nosotros, So if I say nosotros, we, nosotros, if I say that, if I have like a girl here, like my mom, right? If it's me and my mom, then I would say nosotros. I would still say nosotros. And you're thinking, yeah, but your mom's a girl. It don't matter because I'm a guy. You see that? So since it's a mixed group, so even if I were here with like a bunch of females, since I'm a guy, I have to say nosotros because it's not an exclusively female group. If there's one guy in the group, you have to use the masculine form of the pronoun. That's just the way it is in Spanish. I know you're probably thinking, oh, well, that's sexist. It's not my fault. That's the grammar. It's the rule. And please don't go changing it on me. Otherwise, I'll have to, well, I'm stubborn. Like with the letter Y, supposedly La Real Academia Española, which is like the official, authority on Spanish, they came out with a new name for the letter Y in Spanish. Now, instead of calling it La Y, which literally translates into the Greek I, that's Y, La Y, the Greek Y, or the Greek I is Y, right? Now they want to change it to ye. It's la ye. Well, guess what? I've never taught that, and I'm never going to. It's la y, and it always will be in my head. But if you guys want to walk around saying ye, then go ahead. Just don't get it mixed up with Kanye. All right? Yeah. Muy bien. So we have gone over all of the subject pronouns, but we still have another nuance. Two nuances, and that's usted and ustedes. The reason why is because in Spanish, you have a formal you and a formal you guys. Okay? And so let's put usted right here, abbreviated like that, usted, which means you can spell it out like that, usted. Normally it's just abbreviated though. And then you also have ustedes. So ustedes is normally abbreviated like that. And then you can spell it out though, like that, ustedes. And so these are technically the second person, singular and plural. But since Spanish has conjugations, it has verb conjugations. Remember, a verb is an action word. Tenemos que recordar que en español tenemos conjugaciones del verbo. Verbo es una palabra de acción. Acción, una palabra de acción, a word of action. Una is a, palabra is word, de is of, acción is action. Una palabra de acción, a word of action, or in other words, an action word. Okay? An action word. Palabra de acción, action word. Palabra de acción. Es un verbo, a verb. Why do I keep talking about verbs? Because subject pronouns, or just subjects in general, do the verb. And that's how you make sentences. And that's how you speak a language. If you have a verb, you got to have something doing the verb. And that's a sentence by definition. To make a sentence, you have to have a subject and a verb. Because if there's a verb being done, you don't know who's doing it. It's kind of confusing. And so I do a verb, you do a verb, he does a verb, we do verbs, you guys do verbs, and they do verbs. Doesn't matter what language, it's a concept, a universal concept that can be applied to any language. And because this is the type of stuff that we communicate as human beings. and also as other intelligent primates that also speak, right? They have pronouns as well. Okay. And not just primates, just intelligent animals in general. They know how they do the same thing. So anyway, don't ask me, just go ahead and ask the insects, like the ants and the cockroaches and stuff. Yeah, they can talk. But I haven't learned those languages yet. So, but when I do, I'm going to be making some videos. All right. What do we do with usted? Usted has conjugations. Usted tiene conjugaciones. And that's why it's a nuance. Es un matiz. Por causa de las conjugaciones, tenemos que poner este sujeto aquí, porque tiene las mismas conjugaciones que los otros sujetos en la tercera persona singular. In Spanish, usted, which is a formal you, it has the same verb conjugations as the subjects in the third person singular. And ustedes has the same verb conjugations as the subjects in the third person plural. Tiene las mismas conjugaciones que los sujetos en la tercera persona plural. Entonces, tenemos que ponerlos aquí para poder usar este formato para aprender todas las conjugaciones. Ahora, en inglés, más fácil. No tenemos este matiz. Espero que esto se haya quedado claro. ¿Está claro? Ok. Muy bien. I think that's all we're going to do for now, because we just have to keep learning the basics over and over and over again. And I would love to get out of the basics. I would love to talk about something a little bit more, like complex. But I know how people are. We're lazy. And so you have to keep relearning 1 + 1, 2 + 2, 3 + 3, right? If we could just remember everything the first time, then we'd already be doing calculus, okay? But we can't. We have to keep going over the basics over and over and over again. But if you guys need help and this is too basic for you, well, feel free to reach out to me and I can help you. I'll even give you like a free session or maybe a discount or something, I mean, hey, depending on what you guys got going on. So, espero que esto les haya ayudado y podemos seguir aprendiendo más. No se preocupen de esas cajas ahí en ese estante. Sí, voy a ponerlo aquí. Ni tampoco de esos. No hay nada ahí. Perfecto. Ahora, bienvenidos bueno, digo, no bienvenidos. ¿Cómo se dice cuando estamos terminando? Like when we're finishing, you don't say welcome, you say, oh yeah, adios, adios. That's how you say it. Goodbye. Nos vemos. That means we will see each other. Nos vemos. Ver is the verb. Ver means to see. Nos is the indirect object pronoun, referring to nosotros. You guys remember what that means, right? Nosotros. We see each other because it's reflexive. Nos vemos en el próximo. What does próximo mean? You can think of like proximal, which means upcoming or next to. And so it means next. Nos vemos en el próximo video. Or if you're from Spain, video. I think this is video. How do they say it? Video. You want to look it up? No, just look. It's video. That's how you say it. But I think those folks in Spain, they say like video or something like that. But it still sounds Really, really simple. It's a cognate. That's what a cognate is. A word that's similar to languages. But be careful, some cognates are false cognates, like actualmente does not mean actually, okay? Actually, if you want to say, well, actually, you say de hecho, right? De hecho. Don't say, well, actualmente. Actualmente means currently, which actually also means currently, even in English, but it's like the third definition down or something like that if you look it up in the dictionary. So actually means like when you want to contradict something, you say, well, actually, but actually, like the actual position that the actual stance that the government is taking on something, that means like what they are currently doing, right? And so if you look that up, it's one of the other definitions. But in Spanish, that's always what it means. Actualmente means currently in Spanish. It doesn't mean de hecho. It doesn't mean like actually, like when you're going to contradict something. So I didn't mean to get into that, but there's other things that we could get into as well. I could start talking about the light switch behind me or how the door opens up going in, but I'm not going to do that. So nos vemos en el próximo video.